This is Mr Cain along with my guest today, my brother, brethren man, Royston Dawswell.
Got it right.
Dawswell, I got it right this time because last time I had a problem with itch up with him name, man. But brethren, I'm supposed to know him name good. Anyway, today, if you looked at our previous podcast we had, we was talking about Royston's company, which is called Reconnecting Dads.
Yeah.
And with that, that's what he does. He reconnects dads with families, with children, siblings, and bridges that gap. And this guy, his work is uncommendable. It's just unbelievable, the testimonies that you have in what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, it's something that I've been doing for many years, and I've known Eden for many years. I've passed across
30 odd years, you know.
Yeah, I know.
It's not right.
30 odd years. So, just going back to what Eden's saying now, my passion is I still work with young people. I work in schools. I do one-to-one mentoring. I do group mentoring. But I'm passionate about supporting dads to get reconnected with their children, because I see time and time again the same stories that when I was a child, it's still having the same stories, the same battles, and it's like I'm bored of hearing the stories without a solution. So what I really want to do is help dads that really are serious about reconnecting with their children to make a difference in their lives.
Which is really important, because I think at the present moment, the way things are now in 2025, and we're not even halfway through the year, it's just chaos at the moment. We've got children out there killing each other. Every week you hear something, families breaking down. We need to, this is a state of emergency as far as I can see. I mean, I've sat back and watched what's going on. Not say that we're not doing nothing, but these are the reasons why we have these conversations, because we need to bridge that gap. But today, as I said, we're going to be talking about the types of behaviour that some of our parents portrayed when we were growing up. So we've all got a story to tell. Some were mild, some were medium level, some, unfortunately, were at such a high level that the scars and the trauma in some adults today still remain. But we're going to have a discussion about how we look on the behaviour of our own parents and see the flaws and things that actually went wrong with that.
Yeah, I think in generations, it's really funny, interesting now that I'm a grown man in my 50s and I reflect back and think of some of the behaviours that generationally we just knew it as our norm. But when I'm looking back now, just because it was normal, it doesn't mean it was right.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think they're the kind of things that I want to explore. These are the kind of things me and Eden's going to be talking about today, you know, about the things that we need to upgrade as our generation.
That's a good way of looking at it, upgrade.
We have to upgrade because some people are still running a Windows 7.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah. I'm about to use that as an analogy, but you got in there before.
Yeah.
Them quick for update, them phone. And then now update.
Yeah. And it's a real problem. And I hear sometimes how parents will talk of how it used to be and seen and not heard. And I'm a firm believer in children will lie. We've all lied. But I also believe that there's a lot of time children will lie because they feel they can't tell the truth.
Absolutely. So let's have a listen to this clip. And then we may, as we go along, we're going to stop and probably intervene and talk about what we've just heard. But for parents, take some notes down, because I think this is really useful for mindset and change. 100,
yeah.
3 behaviors that will make your child hardened. No parent wants a mean child. No parent wants a hardened child. A child that is not kind, that is not compassionate, a child that is wicked. But sometimes as parents, we behave in ways that will end up making our children hardened, wicked, mean. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the 3 behaviors. Number 1, when you stop your child from being expressive. Yeah, there are parents that do not believe their children should talk. What do you know? You're just a child, keep quiet. Especially here in Africa, it's believed that children should not talk. When a child is always given an opportunity to speak, people see it as spoiling the child. So Children are raised in silence. There is this culture of silence in homes that children should not talk, children should not say how they feel, they should not complain about issues, they should not respectfully challenge your opinions. And you know what this does to the child? The child hurts a lot of emotional needs as a result of this. Because you're not listening.
So, as you can hear, we've just finished listening to that piece of clip there. Now, there's a couple of things there, Royston. What did you get from that in terms of what we just heard?
I think the biggest thing that jumped out at me was something that my young people say to me consistently. They say no one listens. They say no one listens. And in the clip, the woman was talking about being shut down.
Yes, yes, yes.
And that's a consistent thing that young people tell me that they experience. Nobody listens. And I think of that, if we just think about that now as we're sitting there, just imagine if you've got something really important to say, but no one listens to you. How are you going to feel? And you're a grown man.
Yeah, you're going to look for other options, and that's where the problem goes wrong, because you look for somebody outside the person you're supposed to be confiding in, which is your parents, your mum or your dad. You can't have that conversation, so now you're thinking, well, if I can't speak to you, who do I go to speak to? But you should be able to go to your parent and speak to them.
And that's something that happens definitely in our generation, Eden. And I think some of the things that, I think maybe it's got better somewhat, but if that's what a commonality that I keep hearing from my young people is nobody listens.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem, because I said earlier, if sometime a child will lie, not because they want to lie, and I'm not defending the lie now. I'm saying sometimes the reason why they will lie because they feel that they can't tell the truth.
Or they're scared to even approach the parent.
Yeah.
Because there's no confidence, there's no relationship building, so they don't feel they can even go there. And like you just said just now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So what happens then?
True. Let's continue the clip. The number to call is 07585 364475 at the bottom of the screen running. And you want to email us, it's all there. You can see at the bottom of the screen running, visionradio345@gmail.com. Leave your comments as we're in this conversation. So let's go on and hear what else this woman has to say regarding behaviours that some of our parents unfortunately had to use to discipline us.
The child is not ready and is not willing to speak. So there are a lot of needs that won't be met. And this will end up leading to a resentful, a vindictive, a hardened, a mean child, a child that is always angry. The child will exert that anger, that pain on people around him or her. Number two, when you do not instill the right values in your child. Listen, a kind child does not just happen. A compassionate child, a child that has pity, doesn't just happen. You know, a child that is kind is a child raised in an atmosphere where there is peace, where there is love, where there is unity, where there are the right morals and values passed onto that child.
Wow. It's such a powerful statement she's making regarding what we just heard. The environment and what needs to be passed on, the values which was set from foundation. We know as grown men, these are the foundations that made us the men that we are today. And the rules were there, and we had to abide by those rules. I get that. But then, when you're looking at what we're seeing now, no one's actually listening to nobody, like you said, the children not being heard.
Yeah.
And
she said something in there spoke about raising a child and talking about raising a kind child or a child that is angry and the difference. And I kind of just was thinking, as I was listening to it, thinking about, generally speaking, some of the conversations I have with young people, there's a lot of young people these days, especially with mental health being a big thing now.
Yes.
One of the saddest statements I hear, and I hear it often, sadly, is young people telling me they don't love themselves. They don't even like themselves. So if they don't like themselves, me or you or anyone outside, it's easy for them to do something to that person because they don't feel love towards themselves. How are they gonna? Do you think they're gonna love that man or that innocent person in the street? The most destructive words I ever hear young people say is, "I don't care," and I tell you why.
Yeah.
Because when they say they don't care, they will take my life. They will take your life because they don't care
for themselves.
Do you understand?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a conversations I have when I work with some young people. I've heard that many times, especially when I'm looking at most schools now, they have ID where they carry around the school, their name, etc. And some of these IDs are scribbled out. The whole face is blacked out. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, can I have your ID? Let's have a look at your card. Who is this? Scribbled out the face. Now that's deep, because when you look at it like that, it goes to show that somebody there does not actually like what they see. And that is concerning. When somebody looks at themselves and they don't like what they see, you'd have to start digging deep. What's the reason why? Who told you that you're not that person? Where did you get all this information from? Why you got to this stage where you actually don't like yourself? And you're going back to what you're saying. It's about loving yourself and accepting who you are, not what the world tells you to be, because that's how I'm seeing the whole thing. They're running off what the world's telling them. You've got to look like this. Your face has got to look like this. This is the way you are.
Yeah.
And you have to just embrace that. But as you said, if that communication in the house, that love, that respect, listening, you can't build on that. They can't build on nothing. They have got nothing to build on for them to even recognize, I value myself, because nothing's been instilled.
Yeah. If every time you go to express yourself, but you get shut down, it becomes crippling. It cripples your emotion. You don't know how to be able to express yourself, because every time you go to maybe say how you feel, you may get shut down. What do you know? You're only a child. What have you got to worry about? Blah, blah, blah. And even sometimes, I was having this conversation the other day, whereby parents say certain things sometimes, like, I keep a roof over your head, blah, blah, blah.
We've all heard that one, yeah.
Now I think about that statement. Right.
Oh, gosh.
That's rubbish.
Yeah.
I will go as far as say that is rubbish.
It's nonsense. You said that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Hold on, you're supposed to be doing it.
That's
but
right.
Secondly, are you not living in that house yourself? So are you keeping the roof over your house, over your head, and it just so happens that your child is living in the same house that you live in? It ain't like you're paying for this house and I'm living in somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm keeping the roof over my head and it's my job.
That's right.
So let's be right here. You providing the food and all that's your job. That's my job.
Yeah.
It's
a duty.
It's my duty.
Yeah.
Don't put that on the child.
Yeah. And when we have these conversations, there's so much we can talk about off of what's going on here, because Royston is 100% right. We're going to talk about that sometime at some point, where we've got young people literally counting like adults. The responsibility shifted on them.
Yeah.
And it's not them who's supposed to be looking after the house and doing the school runs.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at that later on down the line. But let's carry on with this clip, Royston, because there's so much information on there to pick up on. But we have to, it just makes sense to stop and just have that conversation on those specific parts, because it's important that we get that across to the young adults and people out there who are listening. Please do, because these notes are good to take down. It's going to create change.
A child raised in the fear of God. So what happens in your home? Is your home a toxic environment? Is it an environment where there is no love, where there is no peace, where your child is going through so much pain, watching the things happening around him or her, watching the parents, what's happening to the parents. You know, a child that is raised in a home where he or she watches the father beating up the mother, watching a particular parent going through so much torture, physical torture, emotional torture, psychological, whatever torture it is, will end up being hardened. So what are the morals you're depositing into that child?
Wow. So you can see as the audio is progressing. Now we're talking about the abuse in the home. So it started off talking about the connection and building relationship. But when it gets to this point here, as we mentioned just before we started the podcast, we was talking about this, about how we treat our children in a physical sense, and the way we deal with our own emotions, and then unfortunately lashing out on our children, and that can just spread right across into the home.
Yeah. And I think that the thing that's really important is whatever's gone before us, we cannot change.
That's gone. Right.
It's gone.
That's right.
And I honestly do believe we have to be the change in order to make a difference. Yeah. Everybody's been through hard times. That is a fact.
Absolutely, then, it's life.
It's life.
It's life.
But if I want to not be the same as my old man, who wasn't in the house, he wasn't around, I've used it as a positive. And just think that I've got to be there for my kids because I know what it was like not having that.
Yeah.
And I think even my young people helped me as well. I have to say that my young people helped me, and after time they don't even realise this. But I tell them that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a really good point to hold on to. We're going to hold it there. We're going to be back just after this break. This is Vision Radio 345. Mr Cain with my guest, Royston Dawswell. Brother, yeah. We're back in a minute after this break. Don't go nowhere. The number to call 07585 367475. Drop a text, drop an email, visionradio345@gmail.com. Also check out the website. Everything's down below running as we speak. We'll be back just after this break.
Vision Radio 345. Awesome in talk. Serving our community.
Vision Radio 345. The station to be tuned into. Keep it locked. Keep it locked. Keep it locked. Keep it locked.
Okay, listen up. My name's Mark.
And my name is Manners.
And we are the football directors for the King's Football Academy.
The King's Academy is a charitable organisation and we're based in Newham. Our main function is to shape and develop your talent through the power of sport. For more information, call 07956 891 068 or 07544 089 664. King's Academy, the power of sport.
So tell me, what does mental health look like? Does it look like me? Does it look like you? Or does it look like anybody and everybody? Because let's face it, we can all suffer with it. So if you feel that mental health is affecting you, visit your doctor or a mental health specialist, because these things can happen to the best of us.
Are you a Jamaican land or property owner living in the UK? Do you want to complete a property or perhaps start your dream house build? JA Land and Property Services could be for you. A reliable, trustworthy and friendly service for all your land and property maintenance needs. For more information, visit www.jalandandpropertyservices.com or email inquiry@jalandandpropertyservices.com or WhatsApp Seychelle Gale on +1 876 867 6567. That's +1 876 867 6567.
Your number one online radio station, Vision Radio 345. Vision Radio 345.
Stop stress and worry. Vision 345 have everything cook and curry. All you need to do is just put your hand on the dial and story.
Yeah, welcome back to Vision Radio 345. My guest, Royston Dawswell. Yeah, me get it right again, you know. I'm so happy I got it right, seriously. Yeah, so just before we went into the break, Royston was telling us how the young people make him feel in terms of when you hear those stories.
I think the young people help me in terms of some of the conversations I have with my young people, and they tell me how their lives are and how they may feel, or when they may give me a compliment, say that how they felt that they was listened to and being heard, or even when sometime having a conversation with them and we may be discussing something, and I'll check myself, do I do that? And so I kind of think sometimes, like, oh, do I do that? And then sometimes I've gone back and had conversation with my children as a result of the conversations I've had in the school with my young people.
Yeah.
So it's a reminder. It helps me, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, it grounds me as well, and it humbles me.
Yeah.
So just going without my young people, sometimes I may have not even reflected on that, but because they've said that, I kind of thought,
it makes you think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like we've always said, each one teach one. Young people, you can actually learn from some of the things that they say. You can actually learn from them, because if you look into it a bit deeper than what it is, it kind of makes sense. Although the majority of the time we're talking to young people, not enough make no sense.
Yeah.
But when we've caught somebody who's got that kind of vision, or they're on the right track, it's a very good point to actually start from, not just for them, but for yourself, because now you've learned something a bit more about them.
Oh, 100. And I think young people often talk if they feel safe. So if you create a safe environment for young people, they will talk. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
And sometimes even if you know they're just going through the motion, they may be saying something that in your mind you may think, it's foolishness. However, it's important to them. At that point in time that they've broken up with their boyfriend, their friends aren't talking to them. You could, as an older person, may think that's nonsense. However, it's real for them. And if you don't give them that time and allow them to express themselves, like the woman said, right?
Yeah.
They're just dealing with these emotions flying around their head, and they don't know what to do with that.
And the thing is, well, it's a very good point there, because giving them a space to express themselves is great. But I think that most of the times the problem is, because I've seen it with some of our young people, they go into these, he's my man and all this kind of nonsense, and he's actually not a man.
He's a boy.
But you're going through the emotions. And then when it goes wrong, you start to cry. So this is what we're saying about building and having that time to work on yourself. So when that time comes, you can manage, or what we call, I try to talk to my girls, emotional intelligence. It's really something that they have to learn.
Yes.
Because even as a man, your emotional intelligence is important as well. So if you can understand your emotions and manage that in a very positive way, without going out of the boundaries, so to speak, because there's no influential people around you, your friends, but you've got to work on yourself. And everybody's moment is not your moment.
Yeah. Someone said something the other day, I said to one of my young person, I said, she gets very angry quickly. And I said to her, it's okay to feel the emotion, but don't become the emotion.
Yeah.
And it was like, she laughed, because it was like just having that eureka moment. And she was I get that. And a young person said to me recently when I come in, she said, Royston, don't you get bored of me? She said, every week I come and all I'm doing is complaining. And I said to her, you know what?
God. Because he's in the same space, that's why.
Yeah. And I said,
because
no.
He's in the same space.
I said to her, no. She said, what do you mean? I said, because it's like one. I said, what did I tell you? She said to me, you told me like you're going to treat me as one of your children. I said, so why am I going to get annoyed? And I could see it put her at ease.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, she does come, but you know what? For that half an hour, she may have got off her chest all the stuff that was inside of her.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, because maybe she feels that no one listened to her, just being able for me to be in that space with her and for her to be heard, she leaves my room happy.
You know what? We're going to continue on the clip, and it's just energy and vibes. I mean, when you speak to young people and they walk away from you and they were in a better place than they were before they got there, you think to yourself, yeah, you're ready to go. couple more, and
Yeah.
you'll be ready to go.
And before you go, so even we're on half term now.
Yeah.
I got a text from one of my young people, and she said to me, "Oh, Royston, I've got so much to tell you. I don't go back to school until next week." But she texted me just to inform me that she had a lot to tell me.
Wow.
Do you see that?
Yeah. But we're going to continue with the audio which we was talking about, and that was about behaviours. So we're going to go back to that and have a listen to that. So let's just continue with what we was working on before we had the break.
That child, are you depositing the right morals? Is the environment appropriate for the growth of that child? Will the atmosphere in the home bet a kind child or a hardened child? So it's important we raise our kids in the right environment, portraying the right morals and values. Number 3, are you the kind parent? Your child is watching. Your child is seeing how you treat people around you. Your domestic staffs, your child is seeing. Your child is also watching how you treat him, how you treat her. The way you talk to the people around you, the way you speak to your child. Does your character portray meanness, wickedness? So you treat your child like an animal, you flog that child and expect that child to become an adult that will give love, that will have compassion, that will be kind. It cannot happen. So your child is watching, not just how you treat him or her, but how you treat the people around you, the people in your home, the people you come across. So if you want to raise a kind child that is not hardened, then you must be filled with love. You must have pity. You must have compassion. A snake will give birth to a snake. It's as simple as that. We are living in a world where we have so many mean people ready to step on toes, ready to hurt the other person. Let us do our bit by shunning behaviors that will raise a hardened child. Thank you.
What a powerful statement.
Yeah.
Royston, over to you. What did you pick up from that?
I love the fact how she questioned that. Are you a kind person? Do you show compassion as the parent? And as I was listening to it, I was thinking to myself, well, if you plant apples, you're not going to grow oranges, are you?
Clearly not.
If you plant strawberries, you're not going to get pears. So I suppose, as I'm a very simple man, not a stupid man, a simple man, you grow what you reap what you sow.
You reap what you sow.
And that's the thing. So if you are a kind person, you stand a very good chance of raising a kind child who's going to be compassionate. And she actually spoke about a kind child or hardened. So maybe some of the things, some of the kids that we're seeing that is going out there that are hardened to the world.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Where was it learned?
Yeah, it's learned behaviour, and it hardened. You know, it clearly states, even biblically, is talking about the same thing as in the last days, man's heart will wax cold. That means they'll have no kind of empathy or compassion. That's what we're seeing. That's the reality. We're seeing young people who do not know how to show compassion or any form of empathy, and we can see that because the world they're living in, unfortunately, that's what's displayed. It's all about me, you building yourself up. So there's no room for any type of love to be put into place. And that's one of the main things. If there's no love inside that house, they will go outside for it.
Yeah.
But that love that they're looking for is not the love that they're supposed to be getting.
Yeah. It's
especially with exactly living in a false world, exactly what's happening. This is going to make you feel better. You'll be loved by this person if you do this. And it's all a smoke screen. It doesn't make no sense. Because when you strip it all back, and like we said, remember we was talking about people, the ID, looking at themselves, not liking themselves. You don't like yourselves for what reason? Because the world is showing you this is how you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and I suppose even if you look at social media and things like that, you see like all of these filters, you know,
Yeah.
whereby you look
Yeah.
at that picture and it looks like she looks stunning, she
Yeah.
looks perfect, she's flawless, her skin's
Exactly.
flawless.
Yeah.
So again, that's a false ideology, isn't it?
Exactly.
They're never going to be able to live up to that.
Exactly, and it's not going to make you love no one, because the best thing any parent could do to their children is hug them.
Yeah. I love a hug.
When you hug them, like these ones, you know, my big one, they're kind of like this or that. When you hug them up, and then all of a sudden they're kind of relaxed and they start hugging you up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But those are the things.
Yeah.
That's love. That's love with action.
Yeah.
It's not words. It's an action.
Yeah.
So when you're showing that, they receive it.
Yeah.
And it's what we're talking about. When you're talking about the beginning of the clip, and we're talking about shutting young people down, you haven't got no say, they're going to go and find it in the wrong places.
Yes.
Then you have a problem, because then you've got to deal with whether it's a male or a female.
Yeah.
Now you've got an issue. What are you doing out there with this person? Whenever time I got mixed up with this, but then you're not having no relationship. You're not showing them no love. You're not even attempting to. And I get it. Some parents, they just don't know how to do that. But you have to start from somewhere. Appreciation, a bit of kindness, starts building relationships, sitting down, talking about one and two things, and going to bigger things. People open up, start talking, and you start creating a bond, bond of some sort that's going to be a lifetime for them. They can look back and say, you know what, although this happened, I know that mum and dad or dad was doing this, or, you know, so when we talk about these things, like we were saying, Royston, the type of work he does, reconnecting dads and bridging that gap. And I think one of the biggest points in this is and I think you mentioned this, Royston, about the past is done with.
Yeah.
It's finished. And also, just before you make a point, Royston, forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the heart, you know. It's all about the heart. It's the forgiveness. And I get it. It can be difficult. Yeah. But we have to try at some point to forgive, because the most important thing, and we know this very clearly, money cannot buy peace of mind.
Yeah.
Royston.
I think when you forgive, you know, forgiveness isn't always about the other person. Forgiveness is about for yourself.
Exactly.
When you forgive whatever's happened or whoever's hurt you or whatever the case may be, the truth of the matter, you get a sense of peace, because
release.
You've let that go.
Yeah.
That no longer has no power over you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That thing or that person, the fact, you know what, Eden, I forgive you for that. And then you know what, what's really important is learning to forgive yourself. Without you forgiving yourself, you will never able to heal whatever had hold of you in the past.
Yeah.
When you can say, you know what, I didn't know better at that time.
Yeah.
You know, I forgive myself. And when you forgive yourself, it makes it so much easier for you to forgive others.
And this is why, when we talk about forgiveness, this is why God said, forgive people like how he forgave you, because at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. Yeah. This is why there's so much problem, because we are here to teach, support, love, respect, and live with people. That's what we were taught to do. It's written down. That's what we're supposed to be doing. It's a teaching. It's about living with peace, a way of life. And when we don't have those things in place, we have chaos, because the heart just gets hardened.
And I think you said about love, and I think this is one of the reasons why I love my job so much. I love my job because it's about making a difference. It's about listening to my young people. It's about listening to and learning from me. You know, when we have this when I have this conversation with Eden and things like that, we could be here for 10 hours quite easily.
It's true, you know.
Only because it's like we've got so much to say. We've got that life experience, and I just feel that I'm at a stage in my life whereby I feel my young people mean the world to me. If I can help a young person bridge that relationship with their dad,
absolutely,
the community benefit, because there's so many times children are only hearing one side of the story as well, right? And a lot of times, and this isn't about bashing mums, because my son and my girls had a wonderful mum. I've had an amazing mother. I know so many amazing mothers. However, there is women out there that will use the children as a weapon against men and dads. And there's dads that may have been a useless partner, but a brilliant dad. And I think the lines can be blurred, and that's why for me it isn't about. I'm not interested in the backstory. Is he a good man? Is he gonna be a good dad? And if he is, allow him to get reconnected with his children. You know, providing he poses no dangers to yourself or the kids, there should be no reason that man isn't have access to his child or his children. And I'm a firm believer in that. So listen, the dads that are out there that wanna actually get with their children, watch this space, because I wanna create something really special, whereby I do like a coffee morning or something like that.
That would be absolutely brilliant to get them all together. Yeah,
to get men together and to start having these conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you go onto our website, Royston's details is there. You can drop a comment. His email address is there. Tap in and let's get this thing moving, because as we said, we need to be building up kings. We need to be bringing the community together and making sure that our children of the future are set emotionally, spiritually, and physically ready for what's out there. Because to be honest with you, out there is not easy at all. We've got school leavers who are leaving now. Some have plans, some don't have any. Some are worried about what's going to happen. And I've always said this to young people, it's not how you start, it's how you end up. There's always a choice and opportunity, but you just got to be in the right space, have the right mindset.
Yeah, I think it's one thing I will say is that I've got one son and I've got 3 girls, and my girls came before my son, and they taught me massive lessons. They taught me how to be a dad, you know, long before my son came. My girls ain't my biological children. That's why I always refer to them as my girls, but I love them as my daughters.
That's what you call unconditional love. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and the reason why I always like to highlight that is because their dad was very consistent in their lives. So for me, it's really important to say to them girls, like, they're my girls, they're mine. They're my girls. And like, before my son came along, they was my apprenticeship.
Wow.
Yeah, they were my apprenticeship. This
wow,
what taught
made
me.
You learn.
That taught me how to be a dad. When I started, I had to think to myself, I had to put someone before myself.
Yeah. And this is what Royston was saying. If you remember a while back when we was talking about how we can learn from young people.
Yeah.
Imagine that. That space where you're learning, and it's not just to say that you're there. You're actually there developing. You're getting an understanding how women work, how feelings work, how emotions work, and making some kind of summary in your mind to get it right. Because this is what we do. This is what we do. And when you have that space, it's brilliant, because it's self-development.
Yeah.
For most men who didn't get that. But listen, I've got to say this, Royston, we've got to wrap it up. Because this has been It's been an interesting conversation. And as Roy said, we've got so much to say and so much to talk about, because we know social media's got a number of things on there. But we like to take things out which is relevant, not saying that some of the stuff is not relevant there, but we like to break it down and bring it back to community, family, and especially young people, because they are the future. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Eden, to have this platform to be able to have honest conversation, because I think one of the things that's really needed in this world is healing, you know.
Yeah.
The past is the past for a reason, and we can either get stuck in the past, or we can say, okay, how do we make things better? And that's all we're trying to do. And so I'm always up for coming there and putting the world to rights, so I'll try to anyway.
Royston, thank you very much for coming, my brother.
Yes,
respect back every time.
Every time, yeah?
Every time. Take care. Until next time.
Okay, cheers. Bye.